Hi, welcome to another craft video from the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library. I'm Cheryl and I'm in charge of the craft kits at the main library. And today's video is to accompany a craft kit that we'll be giving out at the main library starting September 1st, 2022. But if you're watching this video later or you don't have time to pick up a kit, don't worry, you can make this project with supplies you'll find at any craft store. What we're going to be making today is we're going to be decoupaging this cute little bowl that you can use to put your rings, jewelry, or your keys in. Just a great little trinket bowl. We're starting out with a plain white ceramic dish, but you can do this technique with any plain white ceramic object. Bowls, plates, cups, anything like that. The only thing you have to be aware of is that these are not dishwasher safe, and that you shouldn't use this technique or this project for anything that's going to have food in it. Okay. If you do a mug, you'll want to only do the outside and not the inside or the rim. But I like to keep these for decorative plates and bowls. Okay, so what's going to be in your kit is a white ceramic bowl. Now you will want to wash and dry this before you start your project. You'll have decoupage glue and a foam brush. Now we're using matte decoupage glue, and this is a Mod Podge brand, and it makes a nice matte finish. But if you want a glossy finish, feel free to buy glossy Mod Podge. And you're going to have 4 napkins with different designs on them. And you can mix and match your designs together. I used this napkin to do this bowl, but I think I'm going to, cut out some flowers here and some leaves here, and you can mix and match and put them all together. Feel free to be creative. Now, to start with, you will need also a pair of scissors. To start with, what you're going to do is you're going to take the napkins, and these are 2-ply napkins, and that's a little bit too thick to decoupage nicely. You want to take the layers apart. So what I usually like to do is I usually like to take a corner and I just kind of go back and forth like this, and that tends to separate the corners a little bit. You put your fingernail in there and you can pull them apart. Now don't just go ripping them apart, because that'll rip the paper. So I like to flip them over and hold the good side down while I gently peel off the backing. Then you use your scissors and cut out the designs that you want to put on your bowl. So what you'll need to do is cut out as closely as possible. If you have a little bit of white around it, don't worry, because that won't show up on the white bowl. But just cut out as cleanly around as you can. And do that for all the different ones that you're going to be creating. Now, if you're going to be using, let's say, the flowered one, it has some really big bunches of flowers. You do not want to use that as one piece, because if you put it down here, see what it's going to do? It's going to wrinkle all up. So if you want the flowered one, I would cut the flowered one into pieces. Here's one that I cut apart. You can cut pieces, just make sure you get in between them. And if you're going to have a larger piece like this, what you'll need to do is kind of make little snips every once in a while in between where it makes sense for it to be, because these are curved. And if you decide to put this down in here, you don't want it to wrinkle up too much. So see how this is cut? You can actually use that to kind of fold that over where it's cut to avoid wrinkles in your design. So just make little snips here and there where it would be logical for it to fold over so that it can follow the curve of the bowl. Now that's not necessary if you're doing it on a decorative plate because they're mostly flat. But if you're doing that on a very curved bowl like this, I would make the little snips on bigger pieces. So now you want to figure out how you want your design. And I've got a few pieces cut out that I think I want to do my design here. I've got this piece, and I've got my little snips cut out so that I can fold it over. And I don't want to just start gluing. I want to figure out my design first. And I think I want some flowers around it. But I think I want the flower, I want some leaves around it. I think I want the leaves underneath. This is why I got to figure it out first, because if I want the leaves underneath, I'm going to have to put the leaves on first. Okay, and this one, these are going to wrap around the edges if they're too tall. That's perfectly fine. So I think I want to start it that way. So I'm going to take this part out, and I'm going to start one at a time. I'm going to start with this one, and I'm going to place it right about there. So I'm going to put a little bit of the decoupage glue there, and with the decoupage glue you don't need a whole lot. You just want to do it in a thin layer, but you want to make sure it's going to cover every place that you're going to put your leaf down, your pattern down. And you can go a little farther out because we're going to cover the entire thing with a coat of Mod Podge at the end. So you can go past the leaves or past your piece just in case. And I'm going to start gently. Now these, once you get these soaked with the glue, they're going to be delicate. So gently put it down and just kind of work from the center outward and kind of pull any bubbles out so that it's making good contact. Okay. Now I'm going to glue the top down here. I'm going to just gently fold that over, and once again gently pull any bubbles out to make it good contact and make sure there's no wrinkles. Okay. All right, now I'm going to do that same for this one here. And you can also, if you don't want to put glue on the bowl, you can always put your glue on your brush and brush it that way, whichever you think is best for you. Okay, I think I like how the inside is. Now I can take some of my ones that I've cut out and I can decorate the outside. Now you can, if you are good with your hands, you can hold it here and decorate, or you can just wait till the glue is completely dried and then just flip it over to work that way. I don't actually have time right now to wait for the glue to dry. So I'm just going to hold it where there's no glue and do some decorative stuff on the outside. Okay, so I've got my design done. Now I'm going to do a thin layer of decoupage glue over the whole thing. What I like to do is make sure that you have no wet glue on the rim. I like to flip it over, do the outside first, but do not get glue on this part here. Don't get glue on the place where it sits, because once I do that, then I'm going to flip it over like this and do the inside. And if I get glue here, then I'll just glue it to whatever I have it sitting on. Okay, so I'm going to do a thin layer of decoupage glue over the entire thing. Being very careful not to tear my design. I sometimes even like to hold it like this. Now, if you're doing this with your own supplies and you chose to use glossy Mod Podge, just be aware that Mod Podge does show brush strokes. So if you use the glossy Mod Podge, you have to be really, really careful about your brush strokes and which direction they're going in, so that because they will show up when it's dry. When we're using the matte Mod Podge, you don't have to be quite as careful with the brush strokes because they're not as obvious. Okay, so I've got the outside, a nice even layer. So I'm going to gently flip it over, and I'm going to do the inside and the rim. Okay, now when you do the rim, then also look at the sides and make sure you didn't mess up the glue or get too much glue out on the outsides of the rim. Okay, now you're going to set this aside to dry completely. So I usually like to give it a couple of hours, and then you should be able to use it, and it should look like this. I'm going to set it aside to dry, and I'm going to show you what it's going to look like when it's finished. Okay, so it's been drying for about an hour and a half now, and here's the finished bowl. Just perfect for your loose change or your keys or your rings. Here's the one I did with the blue, and here's one that I did with the metallic napkin and some of the leaves. Thanks for watching another video from the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library. We'll see you next time. Bye.